You guys are free to use the podium whenever you want.
I'm leaving. I got all my stuff. I'm going.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I know it's that time of the day after lunch and everything, and so we'll try to liven it up a little bit around here. My name is Speedpots Brian Cladoosby. I'm the chairman of the Swinomish tribe, and I'm only here because of the grace of God. He allows me to have the greatest job in the world, and I will leg wrestle anyone who thinks they have a better job than me. Before we start, in 30 years on council, I've had the opportunity to work with some awesome role models. And there has been not a person in my life that has stood out more than this man who passed away this last year, Billy Frank Jr. You cannot imagine the meetings, the opportunities, the travels, the trips I've had to spend with Billy, and those are priceless. So we have a video that we want to start out with first here, so we can get our IT people to roll that. We will start out with a little short video of Billy Frank Jr.
This is a continued story of the U.S. versus Washington, the Bolt decision, which the decision came in February of 1974, and it was a continued part of the U.S. versus Washington on shellfish. We were having a legal argument on our right of the shellfish out in Puget Sound here. So they asked me as one of the expert witnesses to come up to the federal court this day and testify in front of the federal court and the judge to tell the creation of the raven and the clam and the story of who we are and how we got here. And I'd walked into the courtroom that day with this carving of the raven and the clam and our people, and no one knew what I was going to do, but nobody had objected to what I was going to do. So when I was called upon to stand, well, I sit this carving right in front of the judge, and then I got sworn in, and then I got up on the stand to testify. And I was asked to testify about the creation of us Indian people throughout the Pacific coast and along our shores here in Puget Sound and on the watershed. So I continued to tell my story of how the creation began. And so it was one summer day, real beautiful day down on our beaches here in Puget Sound and along the coast, and the birds were flying, and everything was talking to each other, all the animals, and there was a lot of killer whales out there that day, and seals and sea lions, and all of our clams, and life was plentiful out in Puget Sound. Beautiful white sand, both sides, sun shining, and they were looking and they were talking to each other, and they said, we're still empty. We're still empty. Our people and our life is empty, and so we need some more life here. And pretty soon the raven came over, and he sit on this clam right here, big giant clam on the beach. And pretty soon the clam opened up and our people come out. As you can see right here, our people came out, little children came out running, and grandpa and grandma and dad and mom and uncles and aunts all came out, and they would start running down the beach. And the beach was so beautiful. And all of a sudden, all the clams in the beach, like they do, they start spurting up. from down below, they start spurting up and just beautiful. Everything came to life. And all of our children and all of our grandpas and grandmas and uncles and aunts were all along the beach. And the raven said, this is what we need. We need our life and we need our happiness. And so we're whole now. We're whole. Our family is whole. Our animals and the killer whale was out there and all his family. The seals and the sea lions and all their families, everything that swims out there. The salmon was jumping and everything in the Squally River, the mouth of the river. So this story that I told that day, and there wasn't a lot of questions asked about how the story came about, but this is the story that was handed down to us, our people. And the creation story is different along the Pacific coast and along our coastline, and other tribes has creation story about the eagles and about the other animals. So this is just one of our stories of how it all happened and how we're here today, and how we protect our natural world and our resource, all of our animals and all of our clam beds and all of our oyster beds and everything that's down in that beautiful land under the sea that nobody sees. There's a forest under there, a live forest of life, and that's what we all protect, and we have to continue to protect that because this story is very important, and the Indian people are important on this land.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you today. I want to thank the National Museum of American Indians for sponsoring this fantastic event. What a day it has been in this beautiful facility. Kevin, thank you for hosting us here today. You and your staff do an amazing work here for the nation, for the world. I want to take a slightly different approach to the topic that we are discussing today. It is true that great nations keep their word. Then I think we have to start by questioning whether we can consider the United States to be a great nation. I don't say that lightly, but clearly. At least when it comes to Native people, the United States has not kept its word. The colonies did not keep their word when they drove our eastern cousins from their lands in pre-Revolutionary War days. Our first president did not keep his word. George Washington promised the Senecas that he would not let any state or person purchase their lands. He promised that he would protect them in all their rights. The United States couldn't or didn't protect the Muskogee when the citizens of Georgia wanted their land 2 years after they signed the treaty in 1790. 40 years later, they were sadly sent west on Andrew Jackson's forced march to Oklahoma. The United States declared Oklahoma to be Indian territory until the non-Indians decided they wanted it. The U.S. held lotteries and winners raced to stake claims for those Indian lands. From the eastern seaboard through the south and Midwest across the plains to the coast, the growing nation went crazy for one thing after another. Gold, lumber, fur, the buffalo, you name it. At each step along the way, promises were made and promises were broken. There are literally hundreds of examples. The Horse Creek Treaty, signed in 1851, promised eternal peace, but prevented war for only 3 years. The Potawatomi signed more than 40 treaties in ongoing efforts to stay in their homelands. Their leaders were defrauded, bribed, cheated, and filled with alcohol. Whatever it would take to get them to sign away their lands. The U.S. government used every tactic in the book. I could go on for hours. Every tribe, every Indian nation and Alaska village could tell you a story, or many stories, about how they were cheated out of or ripped from their land. Even in my homeland in the Pacific Northwest, my father is still alive, is 81 years old. He's the great-grandfather to my children, my grandchildren, I mean. His Indian name is Kalkaltsut. 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 His great-grandfather, my dad's still alive, his great-grandfather, Kalkaltsut, signed the Point Elliott Treaty for our people in 1855. And when he signed that Point Elliott Treaty, it said that we could take fish as we always had. We had to sue the state of Washington all the way to the Supreme Court multiple times in order to get that provision enforced. Generations of tribal leaders and tribal fishermen were harassed, arrested, shot at, and maligned for believing Governor Stevens' word. The treaty also said, no white man, and it specifically calls out the white man. I'm not making that up. It said, no white man could live on our reservation without our permission. Apparently, white women were okay. The Chinese were okay. The Hispanics were okay. The blacks were okay. But it specifically said, no white man. And if you visit our checkerboard reservation someday, you will see how well that promise was kept. The maps that identified the Swinomish Reservation where I am from showed boundaries around a certain peninsula on an island in the Salish Sea. 18 years after we signed the treaty, President Grant signed an illegal executive order that took away half of our reservation. And the Constitution, and I don't know how many of you knew this, but yesterday was Constitution Day. The Constitution says that only Congress can amend or revise a treaty. The Swinomish tribe has never and will never recognize that executive order as legitimate. And just last summer, we bought back the land that contained that original boundary. And it was 140 years later to the day that President Ulysses S. Grant signed that illegal executive order that my council signed the documents to get back our historic boundary. And I can tell you, there was not a dry eye in that room. The men, the women, the staff, they all had tears coming down their cheeks because of the significance. And we did not even know until my attorney Googled that illegal executive order that Ulysses S. Grant signed 140 years to the day before. It was humbling to think how many generations of our elected leaders at Swinomish hoped that day would come. Now we just have to get back all the rest of the property within our original boundary. How many of the tribal people here have a story about land taken illegally from your tribe by the United States government? I bet it is everyone here today. We all know this history. We know what happened to our children as they were taken to boarding schools, to our land that was broken up, to our resources that were raped and exploited, to our women who were not protected, and to our traditions that have been under constant assault. So either great nations do not have to keep their words, or the United States is not a great nation. Which is it? I, like so many Indian people, am incredibly patriotic. That's why our people have fought and died in the armed forces defending this country in greater percentages than any other ethnic group. grandfather, World War I, 2 great uncles, World War II, father, Korea, 2 uncles, Vietnam. We fought for this country before it even accepted us as citizens. We fought for and believed in this country before we were given the right to vote. Frankly, in many ways, I think Indians sometimes believe in this country more than most Americans. Maybe that's just because we were here first, because we loved this land first, because the blood and bones of our ancestors are deep within this soil. Maybe we're patriotic just because we love fireworks. If you really want to celebrate Independence Day, you just need to go to an Indian reservation in your lifetime to witness the Indians celebrating. And you tribal members here know what I mean. We really know how to celebrate Independence Day. These celebrations are fun, maybe a little unsafe and insane, but they also show that Indian people believe that the United States is a great nation. You can see it in our cemeteries on Veterans Day or Memorial Day when the flags are flying at half-staff and the cemetery is full of those American flags. You can see it in the results of our native vote efforts when we get disproportionately high voter turnout and we determine the outcome of important elections from the local level to the county level to the state level to the federal level. I think you even see it when our children ask to have our history taught as a component of the United States history. They know that their history is bound up in the story of how this great nation came to be. We love this country, and we've known that we were a part of it since time immemorial, before some non-Indians or other governments around us knew it. We can love this country despite the incredible, painful history, despite all the broken promises, despite the words not kept because we have believed in the idea of the United States, even when the United States could not live up to that idea. We have believed in the idea of the United States before it was a country. When the fathers who founded the United States looked for a governing structure that would support the truths they thought were self-evident, they looked to the Iroquois Confederacy, the 5 great nations. Without the example of Indian nations living together in harmony, even when we disagree, the promise of America might not have come together. We come back here year after year. Sometimes for me it's week after week. Because even when all the pundits and maybe all the evidence say that the president can't do anything and the Congress won't do anything, we still believe in a constitution that says treaties are the supreme law of the land. Sometimes I think Indians believe in our Constitution more than anybody else. In a way, by continuing to believe that what the Constitution says is true, and by acting to show that the words in our treaties matter, by calling this great nation to keep its word, we refute all the skeptics. We answer the question I posed at the beginning: is the United States a great nation? Our answer is that while our history in this nation might be brutally painful, when the wrongs done to our people are real, that history is not the end of the story. We believe that even though the United States has not kept its word thus far, it might. and it's getting better. If you look through the exhibition that brought us here today, you will see dozens of pictures of tribal leaders going back to before there were photographs, coming here to this town, to that building behind us and the white one down the street to say, you promised us better. You can do better. You can keep your word. You can be great. Progress has been slow for sure, but even just in my lifetime, look how far we have come. Self-determination, self-governance, the Indian Education Act, Native American Graves Protection Act, Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, Native American Housing Act, Violence Against Women Act, and even the Affordable Care Act. Pick a legislative acronym in the last 40 years, and it probably speaks to Indian progress in holding the United States to its promises, to keeping its word, to being great. So, I ask you, is the United States a great nation? I would say yes, but not as great as it can be. Today, it is a better nation, and I believe that the best days, not just for the United States, but for our Indian nations, are ahead of us. So I hope I am here 25 years from now, and I hope that you repeat this program, and I hope that we can look back at the next 25 years to say, okay, maybe not as great as we could be, but definitely better. And it is, in the words of the great movie Smoke Signals, in the beginning, when the traffic reporter is on his van doing his traffic report, it is a good day to be Indigenous. Thank you, and God bless you all.
15 minutes.